Welcome to IP Concerns Deep Dive, the podcast version of our IP Concerns blog from Cascade Law Group. Here, we unpack intellectual property-related, real business and brand protection topics in a way that actually makes sense, no legal experience required.
So, if you are looking to get a massive business loan, right, a bank usually wants to hold on to something, incredibly heavy.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
You probably picture traditional collateral, like a sprawling piece of commercial real estate, or maybe a fleet of delivery trucks, or, expensive, heavy machinery bolted to a factory floor.
Right, things they can actually see and touch.
Exactly. Basically, lenders want things you can drop on your foot. But what if a company's absolute most valuable asset, like the one thing that truly keeps the lights on and the revenue flowing, is completely invisible?
Yeah, and that is a massive fundamental shift in how the modern economy operates.
It really is. Today, we are doing a deep dive into the financial magic of taking a feeling, specifically, the feeling of customer trust, and converting that into hard financial leverage to, get cash.
Because we live in a world defined by digital spaces and service industries and, well, just absolute brand saturation.
Yeah, exactly.
And in that world, those traditional physical assets are frequently taking a back seat. So understanding how an intangible idea like a reputation or a recognizable symbol actually drives the nuts and bolts physical economy you interact with every single day, that is crucial for anyone interested in business or finance.
Right. Which brings us to our source material for today, an article titled, "How Can a Trademark Be Used as Collateral?"
It's a really great breakdown of the concept.
It really is. Okay, let's unpack this, because I think we need to define exactly what we mean by these intangible ideas before we get into the wild mechanics of how this all actually works.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So we are talking specifically about trademarks today. And when most of us hear the word trademark, we think of, like, a legal registration.
Right, you think of lawyers and paperwork.
Exactly. Maybe a little R in a circle next to a logo on a website. But in this specific financial context, what is it really?
Well, if we strip away the dense legal jargon, a trademark is simply the core identifier of a business to the public. It's the name on the storefront, or the specific logo on the packaging, a catchy slogan, or, even a proprietary color scheme.
Like that specific delivery truck, brown.
Exactly. It is the shorthand for a company's entire reputation. And the crucial element here, the thing that actually makes it valuable, is that it signals consistency and quality to the consumer.
So it's basically a promise.
Yes. It is the literal embodiment of customer trust.
Okay, so it's the golden arches on a highway sign. It's the swoosh on a running shoe. It's that psychological trigger that makes you pick one specific product over a generic competitor sitting right next to it on the shelf.
Even if the two items are functionally identical.
Right. Even if they are the exact same thing.
And that psychological trigger is exactly what we are talking about today. And the fascinating evolution in modern finance is that lenders now treat that psychological trigger as a tangible, bankable asset.
Which is just wild to me.
It is. A business can leverage a logo for a multi-million-dollar loan the exact same way they would leverage a commercial warehouse.
Okay, but mechanically, how does a bank actually hold a logo as security? Because, you cannot lock a catchy slogan inside a bank vault.
No, you can't.
You can't hand over the physical keys to a color scheme. I'm just trying to visualize the actual transaction here.
Well, the best way to visualize it is to look at a standard real estate mortgage, right? But you apply those same principles to intellectual property.
Okay, a mortgage.
Right. So when you buy a building for your business, you borrow money from the bank and pledge the physical property as security.
Yeah, but I don't give the building to the bank.
Exactly. You don't hand the building over. You still operate out of that building every single day. You paint the walls, you invite customers inside, you conduct your daily operations.
Right.
To the outside world, it is entirely your building. What's fascinating here is that on a piece of paper filed away in a county office, a lender actually has a registered security interest.
Meaning they can take it if I don't pay?
Precisely.
Yeah.
They have a claim to it if you stop paying.
So if I use my brand identity as collateral, that separation of ownership and usage applies to my intellectual property too.
Exactly the same way.
So I just keep printing my logo on my merchandise, and I keep running my television commercials with my slogan, and my name stays on the storefront.
Yeah, your day-to-day operations don't change one bit. The invisible collateral remains completely invisible to the consumer.
Wow, okay.
The legal claim only exists on a financing statement or, a filing with the Patent and Trademark Office.
Right.
The lender holds the ultimate leverage, but you, the business owner, hold the keys to daily operation and brand building. The public has no idea that the logo they are looking at is technically collateralized.
But let me push back on this mortgage analogy for a second.
Sure.
Because a mortgage only really makes sense to me if the underlying asset has universal value.
Okay, I see where you're going.
Right. Like
Yeah.
if I default on a commercial building, the bank forecloses, they kick me out, and they are left with a physical structure.
Which they can sell.
Exactly. A building has intrinsic value. They can just put it on the commercial real estate market, sell it to another firm, and get their money back.
Right.
But if I default on a slogan, I mean, what is the bank actually getting? A bank is a financial institution. They are staffed by accountants and underwriters.
Very true.
They aren't in the business of manufacturing running shoes or, roasting boutique coffee.
Well, they don't have to be in the business of roasting coffee. That's the secret.
They don't.
No. What lenders care about, fundamentally, is balancing value against risk.
Mm.
They just need to know that if the loan goes bad, they have an asset they can liquidate.
Right, but how do you liquidate a brand name?
Lenders have realized that a strong trademark represents a built-in dedicated customer base.
Huh.
It generates real-world revenue because it drastically reduces the cost of customer acquisition.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, a recognized brand essentially sells itself.
I mean, I understand that brand recognition reduces acquisition costs for the original business owner, sure, the person who knows how to run the company.
Right.
But if the bank seizes it, like imagine a bunch of suited financial executives taking over a hip indie makeup brand's Instagram handle and trying to sell mascara.
Yeah, that would be terrible.
This sounds like a complete operational disaster. Why would a traditional lender want that specific headache?
Well, they absolutely do not want that headache. And honestly, they rarely intend to operate the business themselves.
Okay, so what do they do?
The bank has several highly lucrative avenues to extract value from a foreclosed brand without ever touching a tube of mascara.
Really? Like what?
First, and probably most commonly, they can simply option the trademark off to a direct competitor.
Oh, wow. Wait. So if I'm a rival makeup brand, I can just buy my competitor's name out of foreclosure.
Think about the strategic advantage there. Buying a distressed competitor's trademark and customer list is a massive shortcut to market dominance.
That's huge.
The rival company absorbs the brand equity without having to spend, a decade building it from scratch.
They just buy the name and slap it on their own supply chain.
Exactly. And they instantly capture that loyal audience.
Yeah.
Lenders know competitors will pay top dollar for that opportunity.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. The competitor is basically buying a pipeline to a new demographic.
Precisely.
Are there other ways the bank cashes in?
Yeah, the other major avenue is a licensing model. The bank could retain ownership of the famous logo and essentially rent it out.
Rent out the logo.
Let's go back to that athletic shoe example, right? If a bank seizes a famous swoosh logo, they don't start operating factories in overseas markets.
Right, they aren't equipped for that.
No. They reach out to an existing massive shoe manufacturer who perhaps, struggles with brand recognition but has great manufacturing capabilities.
Oh, I see.
The bank licenses the logo to them. The manufacturer gets instant credibility. They pay the bank a hefty royalty fee for every shoe sold, and the bank recoups its loan over time.
So the trust itself is monetizable, like entirely separate from the human beings who originally built it.
Yes, exactly.
The bank basically acts like a landlord, but instead of renting out office space, they are renting out consumer loyalty.
That's a perfect way to put it.
But realistically, I mean, is this just a financial cheat code for the massive multinational titans of industry?
Actually, no.
Because I can totally understand a bank lending millions against a logo that is recognized in 100 different countries. It's practically printed money. But what about the rest of the market? Is this an option for smaller companies?
It is highly applicable to smaller niche brands as well. But they have to have one critical thing: fiercely loyal customers.
Okay.
Think about a local craft brewery with a massive cult following, or maybe a specialized software-as-a-service company that dominates a very specific industry niche.
Right.
They might not be globally recognized household names, but their specific customer base trusts them implicitly.
And in today's economy, that hyper-focused community trust is often the only asset a lender can look at. We are living in a digital service-based world. A software company doesn't have a massive factory or a fleet of delivery trucks to pledge.
No, they don't.
Their entire value is wrapped up in their code, their community, and their name.
Which is exactly why lenders have had to adapt. To underwrite these loans, banks use specialized IP valuation firms.
IP being intellectual property.
Right, right. And these firms don't just guess, they look at hard metrics.
Like, what kind of metrics?
They analyze historic revenue tied specifically to branded products versus generic equivalents. They look at social media engagement, market share, and brand licensing history. They put a concrete dollar figure on that customer loyalty.
Okay, let's put this into a concrete scenario.
Sure.
Because if I am a founder listening to this deep dive right now, I want to know exactly how I pull this off to grow my own business.
Naturally.
How does this play out for a growing company in the real world? We have this great example from the source material, the Bright Brew case study.
Ah, yes. Bright Brew. It's a great hypothetical scenario to map this out step by step.
Right, so imagine a highly successful regional coffee chain, Bright Brew. They roast incredible coffee, they have a dedicated local following, and people are walking around town with Bright Brew stickers on their laptops, reusable cups.
Right. They have achieved serious, measurable brand equity.
But let's assume they lease their prime retail spaces. Maybe they even lease their expensive industrial espresso machines to keep overhead low.
Which is very common.
Yeah, so they have an amazing brand, but they don't hold the deeds to any of the traditional heavy collateral we talked about at the beginning.
And now, Bright Brew has hit a tipping point. They want to expand into a neighboring state, open 10 new locations, and launch a nationwide packaged bean distribution.
That's going to be expensive.
Yeah, that requires serious upfront capital. If the founders walk into a traditional old-school lending meeting without real estate or owned equipment to pledge, the loan officer is going to show them the door.
Which leaves them with the classic startup dilemma. If you are listening to this and you have ever watched an episode of Shark Tank, you know exactly how this next part usually goes. Founders who need cash but lack physical assets bleed equity.
They give up a piece of the pie.
Right. They go to an angel investor or a venture capital firm, and the investors say, sure, we'll give you the $2 million to expand, but we want 25% of your company.
And giving up that equity means giving up future wealth. But more importantly, it means giving up control.
Yeah, the VC wants a say.
Exactly. The venture capitalist gets a seat on the board. They get voting rights. They get to dictate how the company is actually run.
And this is where collateralizing the trademark becomes a revolutionary tool, right?
Yeah.
Instead of giving away a chunk of their life's work, the founders of Bright Brew go to a lender who understands intellectual property. They offer their registered Bright Brew trademark and logo as the sole security for the loan.
And the bank's IP analysts look at the market data. They calculate the recurring revenue generated purely by that brand recognition. They assess the cult following, and they underwrite the expansion loan based entirely on the value of the name.
Wow.
Bright Brew gets the cash injection they need.
And the founders retain 100% ownership of their company.
100%.
They keep total creative and operational control. The bank doesn't get a seat on the board.
No, they don't.
The bank doesn't get to step in and demand they change their logo or alter their roasting process to cut costs and boost quarterly margins. As long as Bright Brew makes those monthly loan payments, they fuel their massive growth entirely on their own terms.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it is the ultimate non-dilutive funding strategy.
Non-dilutive meaning you don't dilute your ownership.
Exactly. For creators, tech startups, influencers, or any business built primarily on reputation, utilizing this strategy allows you to leverage the true value of your brand without selling a piece of your company's soul.
That is amazing.
It empowers founders to scale rapidly while keeping the financial upside completely for themselves.
I mean, that is a masterclass in strategic financing. It feels like a hidden loophole in the business world. But it can't all be non-dilutive sunshine and easy expansion. Here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay, let's hear it.
I'm always looking for the catch. What happens when the Bright Brews of the world hit an unexpected bump in the road?
Ah, the downside.
Yeah, say a massive global supply chain issue tanks their revenue for a quarter, right? They burn through their cash reserves, they miss their loan payments, and the bank comes knocking.
This is where the strategy reveals itself as a dangerous double-edged sword.
Yeah.
The invisible collateral suddenly becomes very, very real. If a business defaults on that loan, the lender exercises their legal right to foreclose. They file the paperwork, and they take legal ownership of the trademark.
The implications of that are terrifying. The business literally loses the legal right to use its own brand identity.
Yes.
The founders who poured their life savings into this company, who roasted the beans, who learned their customers' names, and built the community. Oh, wait. I mean, they can't legally call themselves Bright Brew anymore.
No, they can't. The bank owns the name they invented.
That is just wow.
It is a profound and devastating loss of identity. And the messy reality of what happens next is where the true risk lies, especially for the consumer.
Oh, so?
Because the bank, as we discussed earlier, is going to immediately try to extract value from that trademark to recoup their lost money.
Right, they auction it or license it.
Exactly. They auction it to a competitor or license it to a massive corporate conglomerate.
So the customer experience gets completely warped. Like, I might walk into my local Bright Brew 6 months after the default. I see the exact same familiar logo on the door. I buy the same branded cup of coffee, but the original passionate founders are long gone.
Long gone.
The new corporate buyer who licensed the name has quietly cut corners on the coffee bean quality to save money, assuming my blind loyalty to the logo will keep me buying regardless of what's actually in the cup.
But here's the thing. Consumers are incredibly perceptive, much more so than financial spreadsheets often account for.
Oh, for sure.
They sense when the soul of a brand has vanished. The music in the cafe is suddenly generic. The barista doesn't know the regulars anymore. The coffee tastes burnt.
Yeah, you can just feel it.
A recognized logo might get a customer through the door one last time. But when that foundational trust is broken by a subpar product, the consumer backlash is swift.
It reminds me of those zombie brands you see walking through a dying shopping mall.
Oh yes, perfect example.
You see a storefront with the exact same name and logo it had in the 1990s when it was a premium, respected retailer.
Yeah.
But when you walk inside today, it's just a hollow shell company selling incredibly cheap, low-quality merchandise under a formerly prestigious banner.
Right.
The bank or the private equity firm is just squeezing the last few drops of nostalgia out of the trademark before it dies completely.
That is the exact mechanism at play, and it highlights why pledging your trademark is such a high-stakes maneuver.
Yeah.
It is an undeniably powerful growth tool that can save your equity. But it requires a rock-solid business plan and contingency funds. You are putting the absolute core identity of your company on the line.
Because losing a piece of physical equipment is a hurdle, but it's fixable. If the bank repossesses your delivery van, well, you go lease another van and you keep making your deliveries the next day.
Exactly.
But if the bank repossesses your trademark, you are losing the business itself. You are losing the very thing that made you who you are in the eyes of the market.
Which is why IP valuation is still an evolving science. Lenders are increasingly aware that if they foreclose, they have to manage that transition incredibly carefully, or the asset they seized will degrade to zero in their hands.
So what does this all mean for us? We started today by challenging the traditional heavy definition of what collateral actually is.
We did.
We learned that your company's name, your logo, and the hard-earned trust you've built with your customers aren't just graphic design elements or marketing fluff.
Not at all.
When properly legally registered and strategically deployed, they are actionable, highly liquid financial assets.
It completely reframes how we should view the commercial landscape around us.
It really does.
Whether you are an entrepreneur mapping out how to fund your next big startup idea without handing over half your company to an investor, or if you were just a consumer grabbing your morning coffee, understanding this mechanic changes your perspective entirely.
Every billboard you drive past, every stylized storefront you walk into, every colorful app icon sitting on your phone's home screen, they are all potential invisible mortgages driving the economy. It's everywhere. It is. But I want to leave you, the listener, with one final thought to mull over today, building on this idea of zombie brands and corporate takeovers.
Okay.
We talked extensively about how a bank extracts value from a foreclosed brand and how corporate buyers often ruin the vibe. But think deeply about this. If a rigid financial lender seizes a beloved, quirky, passionate trademark after a default, and the original visionary founders are ousted from the building, does that brand actually retain its true financial value on the open market?
That's a great question.
Or will the financial system eventually discover that the trust they thought they legally collateralized is actually inextricably tied to the specific human beings behind the logo, rather than just the ink and the legal filings themselves?
That is the ultimate test of intellectual property versus human capital. I mean, can you truly separate the art from the artist in the business world?
It really is. It is definitely something to think about the next time you see a beloved local brand suddenly change its flavor overnight. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the invisible economy. Keep asking questions, keep looking past the obvious, and we will catch you next time.